the RAAF, 39 onwards. There were 1,080 Tiger Moths manufactured in Australia and Sydney in the early 40s. These two are both Australian. The camouflage one is the RAAF Museum's aeroplane. The silver one is operated by Mr. Gary Hearn, who is a Cessna captain. It's cold and drafty in the Tiger Moth. As Gary Hearn's over the top doing some aerobatics, a nice roll. Tiger's only got ailerons on the lower wing, so it's right just barely slow. We often describe all turbine and no tail wheels.
Now, Jeff was talking about the Tiger Moth and the importance of feet and rudder and keeping the aeroplane in balance. How important is it to keep the harbour or the Texan, as we're watching, in balance through rudder?
Well, it was very important, and the Texan, like the Wirraway, had its little idiosyncrasies, especially coming into land. And there was a number of aircraft and pilots came to grief with not getting that the structure for landing configuration is quite right in those particular aircraft. And Jeff's joined us again now, and he'll be able to tell you more about that.
About keeping the harbour in balance during flight, like the Tiger Moth you were talking about before, through stick and rudder, and the harbour with the Texan, much the same. I guess the balance is critical. Australian Air Force played a significant role in the 6 years of war, and by the end of it became the 4th largest air force in the world. So let's don't underestimate the role that this
armament-wise was right at the sharp point end in when it was developed.
Darryl looks after the weapons display in the museum, and he has a thing about big guns.
And you were talking about the Sabre before, Peter, which leads me
after the moment. Almost plan view.
You can see from the drawing here that it was quite a manoeuvrable aircraft in the New Guinea area.
As this genuine war force lifts away from historic Point Cook.
Very significant aeroplane in the RAAF service, right from the beginning of World War II, operated up in the Pacific area. They were used a lot in England by Coastal Command, out over the ocean, dropping depth charges on submarines and maritime. RCA supplies from the museum. Now this aeroplane is operated by Hugh Watho's organisation.
That's correct, owned and operated by Xjet at Essendon Airport.
Now it's an interesting aeroplane. This is a jet training aeroplane developed in England by Percival originally and became British Aerospace.
That's correct.
In fact, significant in the RAAF, before the Mackie era, the RAAF in Australia tried a jet Provost down at Sale and ran a course with one. In fact, that aeroplane is still in the museum collection. The one that we have is a JP1, with the tall, stocky undercarriage.
This particular variant, the Mark V version, Jeff.
Powered by
the Viper 202.
The same engine is used in the Mackie jet trainer. There are quite a few of these jet Provosts operating in Australia on experience flying, aren't they?
Primarily they're the Strike Masters, which is the next variant of the Strike platform. Then we have used the Mark V
Paegent 2010.
Okay, in the circuit at the moment, we've got the Roulettes aerobatic team. They're just on their way back from Wollongong in New South Wales and rejoining us. Those the Roulettes do a somewhat different pitch and break. Very spectacular.
So as we watch the pitch and battle break, we prepare to watch the Roulettes land, and they'll be flying their very familiar flying display towards the end of the day.
Being your chief engineer, how does he get to fly military aircraft?
He flies them all, and he says the only one that really scares him is the Tiger Moth. Ray Villerman, who's a close friend, to Zimbabwe to have a look, and ended up buying 7 vampires. Every collection needs 7 vampires, and this is the only one we've got flying. We have another one which is taxiable, single seat, but this is the 2-seater, which we thought would be more useful to get.
Nicely noted.
Yes, in that era, they were running out of metal in London during the war.
Also fly laminate, covered with fabric.
And we see centre stage at the moment this marvellous piece of aviation history. It is the Hudson bomber. This aeroplane is just such a significant
dark grey and a very sky blue belly. It's the grey camouflage which was used by Major Ivan Stefanenko. They're culturally painted, they were pretty rough. But what we've decided to do with this aeroplane, because it's a show aeroplane, we've decided to put 90. Is that this particular pilot was he was fairly successful
for the Yak 9, which is landing at the moment. Fair bit of movement. We have the 2 Mustangs currently taxiing. Ladies and gentlemen in the public gallery, you are watching the only line proper, the Spitfire aircraft taxiing, and it is readying itself for a departure in 1 or 2 moments. So the
It's a new design of aircraft, so the concept from day one was that it was a trainer. It has tandem cockpit, the same as there's the PC-21 pulling up for the start of its display. As he rolls 1.5 rolls, he'll now pull through to come back down. And it's flown today by Reto Ashleman. He is head of the flight department at Pilatus Aircraft. He's 39 years old. And an ex-Swiss Air Force F-18 pilot. Okay, he's going to bank towards the crowd centre now, and it's coming up for a quick aileron roll and then a outside turn pushing about -3G.
Ooh. Oh, that was very impressive. Yeesh, outside turn, derry turns, and the whole kit and caboodle in that particular manoeuvre.
And he's pulling up now for a stall turn, so if you watch him slow down just at the top, as he's almost got no airspeed left, he will put in the left rudder, and you'll see the nose of the aircraft move to the left in a well-coordinated stall turn manoeuvre.
Crushing in that turn?
It was pushing down on Ashley. He will certainly feel that G, yes. Okay, you see him an aileron roll there.
When we talk about G forces, G is the acceleration due to gravity. You're subject to 1G when you're standing here. 9G is 9 times that.
and he's now positioning to come down with a slow roll. So he'll perform a coordinated slow roll down the runway centre line. Showing you all the sides of the aircraft.
Magnificent fly past there by the Spitfire, and as it repositions, I draw your attention to the passing of Wing Commander Bob Doe, who passed away last weekend. A Battle of Britain pilot, the third highest score British pilot in World War II, and 14 enemy claims. The passing of Wing Commander Bob Doe, RAAF, last weekend. Fail, Bob Doe. Now, the aircraft here, the Spitfire. Jeff, I can see you celebrating.
Yeah, right. And we've got with us, fortunately today, Kenny Love, who's the CEO of the Tabora organisation. He'll talk to us about...
Absolutely, and of course, all of our aircraft in the museum's collection, with aviation perfection over the years, there is no such thing as a perfect aircraft. There's always trade-offs, and one job to be done as to whether the Spitfire or the Mustang performs better.
As a display aeroplane, the shape, the sound, and just the sheer beauty of the thing is what attracts you. It's being flown today by a Defence Reserve pilot, Peter Clements, I think, flying it today. It was recovered here to Point Cook. This is one of Judy Pay's collection. It was recovered in a wrecked form up in the Pacific Islands, and people over many years.
That recovery has an interesting story. It was so that 5 P-40 Kitty Hawks were on a training mission to Vanuatu, and in heavy weather all 5 crashed. And it wasn't until 82, 83, something like that, that this one was recovered. The others were not recoverable, and hence the long and sore war in the Pacific.
Well, it's interesting that they operated in really isolated conditions, atrocious weather, and they had very little in the way of navigation aids in their airplane. So none of them are not
It's been a long time since a Sabre was seen in the skies over Point Cook. In fact, I was talking to Mike Nixon a little while ago, and he was...
Our day.
We should also recognize it looks like one. This is not an F-86. It's an Australian built CA.
Formation is again inbound, and the order of proceedings, again, left turn is perhaps expected, but maybe not. A right turn to give you an underview of the aircraft. 150 knots to give us a plan view of the aircraft right now.
450 knots is 450 nautical miles per hour. You want to convert that to kilometres multiplied by 1.85. The mathematics escapes me at the moment.
While the jet is repositioning, Paul Simmons also mentioned that the control column has an artificial feel to give the pilot a tactile feel back to the human brain to give him a sense of control of the aircraft. It is all hydraulics driven by actuators, and the aeroplane is completely dependent upon the hydraulic systems for control of flight. Smoke on, Sabre jet, underside view across the field.
It's generated by injecting a special type of oil into the tailpipe of the engine where the engine exhaust causes the oil to burn. It's a mixture of white oil and...
Will be the last departure by squadron leader Paul Simmons. The Sabre jet was at its best at altitude. As we can see, the turning circle of the Sabre is perhaps not what we'd expect from a modern day fighter, but at altitude takeoff, it'll do a ring and display. Hercules will return. Just a reminder once again, the important announcement of before, while we have time to tell you, if you came onto RAAF point book by foot and your car is parked off base, we do ask that you move by 4:20 and make your way to your vehicle. But do not, please do not walk on the road. Heavy volumes of traffic will be occurring on the road out of Point Cook. We do ask that you don't.
Yeah.
C-130 Hercules aircraft, operated by number 37 Squadron RAAF Richmond, is in fact headed back to Richmond RAAF base now, but will give us a very modest handling display of the aircraft before it goes. You are watching the aircraft of its type in the world today. Since 1954, and the Blue Press C-130 from 37 Squadron being shown at its best.